Have you ever wanted to try out drawing in a chibi art style, but you don't know where to begin? I don't think there's a set rule for how to draw chibis. You can draw chibis however you like, but in this video, I'll just be sharing my method for how I draw my chibis. And you can just take whatever knowledge that I share and use that to apply to your own art and hopefully be able to develop your own chibi art style. So for this video, I'll be drawing my VTuber as a chibi wearing a Halloween themed outfit, and I'll also be sharing some of the basics of how I draw chibis. But before all that, I think I need a snack. Thankfully, TokyoTreat and Sakuraco have sent me 2 boxes of delicious snacks to try out. This month's TokyoTreat box is Halloween themed and came with an assortment of Halloween themed snacks and treats. I'm a big fan of gummies, so this tsubugumi was like one of my favorite snacks. I actually had to get more, and so I ordered the regular variation in a local Japanese mart. My other favorite snack is this sweet potato Kit Kat. It came in this really cute bag and had like a bunch of little Kit Kats inside, which I really like so that I can share the Kit Kats with some other people. And I also like these Polinki Mentaiko corn snacks. They were really crunchy and flavorful. I also really like the Tanuki Yakisoba that was in the box. I had to make the yakisoba myself, and I messed up the instructions a little. I think I put too much water, so it had a harder time kind of evaporating. But it still turned out really delicious. I topped it with some kimchi and had it with the cola that came inside the box. They tasted delicious together. It was a really good hearty meal. Like, the yakisoba was a lot more than I expected. Sakuraco also sent me their Kyoto Crimson Flowers October snack box. I think the box is really pretty, and it came with a lot of snacks that matched well with tea. One of my favorite snacks is this yuzu dorayaki and this Kyoto candy. And the Kyoto candy has so many unique flavors that I've never tasted in candy. My favorites are probably the matcha and plum. The plum was such a surprise because when you get to the middle of the candy, it's kind of like this salty, sour plum flavor. This momiji cookie was also one of my favorites. It's really pretty and made me feel really guilty to eat it. Another really pretty snack is this Azuki pear jelly. It was really nice. It had a very refreshing fruit flavor, and I had it with the tea on the side, and even though it was a cold dessert, they matched really well still. The October box for Sakuraco also came with this beautiful plate that you saw in the video earlier that I put the Azuki jelly in. The plate is really nice, and it's sort of the perfect size for any kind of snack. If you like what you saw in these boxes and you would like to get one for yourself or for someone else, you can use code KAIRU to receive $5 off your first Sakuraco or TokyoTreat box. And thank you again to TokyoTreat and Sakuraco for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the chibi tutorial. Before I draw the actual chibi for this video, I wanted to explain to you the basics of how I draw chibis. So the way I draw my chibis, they're usually just composed of simple shapes as building blocks. I call these shapes the beans, and a rectangle blobs, which is like a string bean legs. And then the arms are just sort of sticks since I want the character to be more expressive with the arm movements, so I will usually draw the blob of the hand first, like as a circle, and then I'll just add in the arms to attach them to the body, so it's a little less restrictive. Of course, I try not to go too far, like with where the hand placement is. Yeah, it really helps so that I don't overthink where the elbows are gonna be. And I just add this little T in the middle of the face so that I know where the center of everything is and where the eyes, nose, and mouth are supposed to be placed on the face. And then I just follow that guide to know where I put the eyes and the nose and the mouth. And then I just draw the face on top of that. The face, I don't really know since I think people draw eyes and mouth very differently for chibis. I just try to do like a round-ish shape. I might have to make a different video to tell you all like the different ways you can draw like chibi eyes and other variations of like expressions and stuff. But for this video, I'm not gonna go too deep into like the eye details. Basically, I like to draw a nose. You don't have to draw a nose. But that's the way I like to draw my chibis, with a little nose dot. And I just sort of squish everything down and make the mouths big if they have like an open mouth. Like, I think it's so cute when the mouths are much bigger. So once I'm done with the face, of course I start working on the body and stuff. This is really just a sketch. I just sort of wanted to explain the proportion basics, so I'm just gonna speed through this part. Now we're gonna work on the actual art. I do some pose drafts really quick drafts of the idea that I had in my mind of how I wanted the chibi to be posed. I did a bit more of a dynamic pose than the initial sketch, which is like just the front view to tell you the proportions. This one's a little more like in motion. That's how I like to draw my chibis when suitable. I think I just realized that I actually didn't follow a lot of my guides here. I kind of went on instinct for the second pose. The first one a little bit like the basics, and then the second one was just me going off on like random. I didn't even use the guide that I told you guys to use. But you know what? It's different. I know what I'm doing. So the basics is more of like if you don't know how to get started on your chibis. So that's my excuse. I am sorry, actually. I didn't realize that I didn't do it at the moment. So there's that. This is like really sped up and I'm just doing voiceovers. So I'm sorry if I don't follow my own guide. So for this chibi, I was just sort of hoping to emulate a ghost. So I had a bit of trouble with like how to position the feet, whether I wanted it to be like the chibi in a costume or the chibi hovering like full-on ghost. So I was kind of like in between like leg poses. I started doing, this looks like line art. Technically it was kind of going into line art. I think my brain was just like, oh, I can clean it up like this. But I ended up making it into a sketch again because I started drawing directly without a polished like base for my sketch. I ended up not fixing the proportions very well, so I had to draw another guide underneath the cloaks just so I knew where the body was and where the legs are supposed to start. I did that on purpose so that you knew that using the guide is very important. Don't be like me, don't skip the guide. So now I'm just like sketching on top of the sketch again. Very tedious. I think I was just really tired when I was working on this, and I was sort of not giving myself the best output, and I was just trying to get something done. So it's a little messy, it's a little scuffed, and now I'm gonna start working on the line art. Just try to clean up everything. I am doing the line art on a vector layer. So the vector layer is actually one of the main reasons I initially got Clip Studio Paint, and then I haven't started using it until lately. And it's been saving me a lot of time because sometimes I just put stuff in the wrong place, and it's kind of a pain to erase like all of the mistakes manually sometimes, and vector layers sort of help that with line art. I attribute my better line art lately to drawing with my elbow, the vector layer, and using one of those 2-finger gloves for artists. Those have really helped me out. I really have like sweaty palms, so it's usually like a problem when I'm working on my tablet. Just a bonus tip for my fellow sweaty hand artists. And then I just start putting in the flats. As you can see, I put the flats before I finished like drawing the jack-o'-lantern. The jack-o'-lantern was stressing me out, so I said, okay, I'll come back for you later. And then I drew it on a separate layer, so it might not be the most efficient of ways to do... It might not be the most efficient way to do the work, but also when I get too frustrated in one part, I end up not wanting to finish the whole piece. So I think this is like a worthy sacrifice to just come back to it later. And I did leave it in a different layer. That's one of my tips. If you're kind of freaking out about one part of your piece that you don't know what to do with, take a break from it. Put it in a separate layer and then come back to render it later when you're a little less like frustrated about your work. Here I am just doing some basic shading. I just do preserve opacity on the layer with the flats and paint over that. It sort of depends on how familiar I am with the color that I'm shading. If it's a color that I don't know very well, I have to use like a multiply sometimes to make my life easier. Or sometimes the colors I pick are too muddy and I give up and I just do a clipping group, and then I put the multiply, where you just put a multiply layer mode on top of the flats and shade it that way. It is very like time efficient to do it that way. There are some styles that it doesn't really work with though. It really depends on how I want my piece to turn out. So as I'm putting down like the flats and slightly rendering as I go, apparently, I was like picking out colors. I almost had like a blue streak instead of the pink streak, but I thought it was like too blue heavy because the eyes are blue and the tongue was blue and then the bangs were also blue. And now that I think that everything looks good, I merged down all my layers. I put a layer on top and clip it and play around with the overlays to sort of make the image pop a little more. And this one I use a lot of colors like blues and yellows and reds to sort of like add a bit more contrast to everything. Usually when I'm in the render phase, I have one layer that is like everything merged down, and then I have another layer that's on top for like overpaints, and then I just merge it down repeatedly. For the render phase, I usually just clean up the lines, add some like proper shading, and usually a lot of cleanup for me because I'm very messy at like line arts and even coloring. So it's all of those little details that I didn't want to deal with when there were too many layers. That's what I fix in the render phase. And I'm just rendering this jack-o'-lantern. This was giving me a headache. I was very, very close to just throwing the jack-o'-lantern away because I had no idea how I'm supposed to draw a jack-o'-lantern. But it made sense in the end. The treats inside the jack-o'-lantern were also added in post, and I didn't want to be too specific. I was just like, just add something in there so it looks full. Not too keen on those details. And then I redrew the hand, which was a pain. But it had to be done. Like, it doesn't look like the candy was being thrown properly, so I did cut up the hand and put that in a different layer and then liquefied it to be a little closer to the face. I think it did look a little more correct after that. And then afterwards, here I'm just doing a gradient map. I don't know if this actually improves my art a lot. I do think it looks better after I put like a gradient map. You can sort of see the comparison when like it's flickering right now. That's me like flipping through the with and without and just trying to see which looks better in my eyes. And finally at the end, I add this blue overlay to add like that ghostly feel at the end. So it's a lot more blue. I think the blue actually really makes it look ghostly. And then I played around with like the outline. I think the blue really is the best. The orange was kind of cute too, like it added contrast, but the blue really just kind of fit the ghost theme of it. So this is what we have at the very end. This is the final look. I think it looks really cute. Do tell me what you think about it in the comments down below. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you learned something from it. I know that it is a little long and I wasn't able to polish the edit as much. I've been really busy. I've been doing a lot of conventions and been working on merch and producing merch. So I haven't had a lot of time to do other things. I don't know if I'll be able to do anything for Halloween either. Again, I don't think I'm as much of a VTuber as I once was. I definitely want to try leaning into doing more art tutorial videos rather than just VTubing tutorial videos, but I still haven't figured out how to do the tutorials. Like I've been doing VTuber tutorials for a while, so it feels a little different. Art tutorials, I'm just like not sure how to express the chaos that is my art process to everyone. If you have some suggestions on how I could like improve my art tutorials, or if you have anything that you'd like a tutorial on that's more art related rather than VTuber related, because I really don't stream as much as I used to, although you can still see me streaming on Twitch sometimes, so if you catch me there, hello. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Bye bye.